Feel free.
Right.
Just never stop panicking.
No.
Basketball, girls basketball, boys basketball.
I'm gonna text you real quick.
Yeah.
Good idea. Yeah.
Yes, that's good. You're waiting for a second.
Oh no, she thinks it was at 5.
Oh, no.
I thought I emailed you guys 4 o'clock yesterday,
did.
okay.
Yes, I just got it.
After Jefferson's report.
Yeah.
Classic,
You can get her on the phone if you'd like.
I'll put her on her seat.
I don't think that's, you're not using the mics, are you?
No, I'm picking up room noise.
Annie? Okay, hold on, let me try and turn this up. Okay, can you hear us? Or hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All righty, then you're there. We're gonna go ahead and start then. Good afternoon. I welcome you all to this afternoon's special called Chino Valley School Board meeting. With that, if everyone wouldn't mind standing for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 3 is the adoption of today's agenda. We need a mo- And we have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. Call to the public. Call to the public is a time for the public to address the board. They do need to complete a form. We have one form. We will be setting a 3-minute time limit. Just as a reminder, personal attacks upon board members, staff personnel, or other persons in attendance or absent by individuals who address the board are discouraged. And I actually will be stopping any discussion at that point in time. What else do I need to say? Upon conclusion of the open call to the public, the individual board members may respond to any criticism made by individual who has addressed the board if there is some. So Joni, you're up. Let me put my little timer on for you.
How are you guys today?
Good, thank you.
So I left the other night and I wasn't able to be here, but from what I understood, you guys were gonna stay closed till February 15th,
We will be discussing it at the next board meeting.
which is February 15th.
The next board meeting now is
8th, is it the 8th, I
the
believe?
day, so.
You guys, bars are open. Everything is open. Other schools are open. They're doing fine. Why is our school continuing to close down? I do not understand this. For what I understand, from what I watched from the last, maybe some of the older people are a little scared. I understand that. Because most of the people that passed away are in the 70s or 80s. I've done my research. But you guys have got to open our school up for our kids. This is ridiculous. You guys have not opened because of the teachers, not because of the children. The children want to come to school. There are some teachers that are elderly, are scared, or you're losing them, or I don't know if they're getting fired or if they're just quitting or what. But we have to keep the schools running, you guys. You think that the people that that are all voting no here, don't have businesses, don't go to the stores, don't go out and eat, don't buy groceries. Yes, they're around people, but you guys are shutting our kids down. What are the seniors gonna get out of this year? Any scholarships? Maybe a couple. Not much. And what are gonna happen to the seniors of next year? If you guys aren't putting the children's education first, you have got to make a decision. Quit being fearful of this virus and let our children go back to school. I understand it's a tough time for everybody, but there's also a lot of parents out there that have lost their jobs. Right now, the Agate House in Prescott is overfilled with mothers and teenage kids and kids because they got homeless. They lost their jobs. And we have a few here in Chino. And I told you back in October, 50% of the kids were failing. Do you think they're doing any better now? You may have got them caught up, but guess where they're right back at? You're not helping our children. Your job is to run this school and to make sure that it runs smoothly and, yes, safely. But you cannot close the school down with our children in here. All these people paying taxes, how long has the school been closed down? Since last year when COVID first came out. Look at how long. These kids have gone out of school, talking about how many students you're losing. I hear these guys every day. I have teenagers. My grandson, by the way, is such a fantastic football player and has one of the best arms in the district for Chino Valley. He represents Chino Valley. He had an opportunity to go to Prescott last year, and he chose to stay here. And he's gone to camps every summer. I'm proud of my Jaden Smith. He's worked hard, and he's got things in front of him that he'd like to do. You guys are cutting them chances off. You're eliminating the chances of these younger kids. You think about every place that you go after you leave here. Every time you go in the store, you think about where you go. And then think about how these kids are being kept out of the schools. With all these people paying taxpayer money. Now, they can work out the other stuff. But I'm going to tell you what, these schools need to open, you guys. I don't care. Quit being so fearful and so tunnel vision that you're not looking at the whole picture. Because you're not looking at the whole picture. And I've come in and spoke with you guys. And I do appreciate you volunteering for the board. I do. I wouldn't want to do it. You know, I have enough to deal with all the boys at my house. But you've got to do something for these kids. They've got to get back in school. You let them go to school how long? This year? A month and a half? You let our kids go to school for a month and a half. And you shut them right back down. And in the meeting with all the parents, they said, listen, and you know what you guys said? You're right. Everybody came into it. Do you think it's changed? It hasn't changed. So please change your mind.
So Jenny, again, I want to thank you for your comments, and we will be addressing that at our next meeting. So thank you. All right, on to item 5, our curriculum, winter sports. Mr. Shaw.
At the July 7th, 2020 board meeting, way back in July, before school started, the governing board approved 3 scenarios for reopening schools for the 2020-2021 school year. These scenarios were for in-person learning, hybrid instruction, and the at-home learning. The at-home learning scenario did not allow athletics during at-home learning. That was approved in July. On Monday, January 8th, or I think that was actually a Thursday, the AIA Executive Board voted to cancel winter sports for all AIA schools. On Tuesday, January 12th, the AIA Executive Board reconsidered their vote and approved continuing winter sports with modifications. So when you guys made the decision to go into at-home learning or continue in at-home learning for the high school and middle school, there were no athletics because they had been canceled that day by the AIA or prior to that day. And then on Tuesday, that was reconsidered. Based on the conversation at the January 11th board meeting, district staff, and that had to do with our next agenda item, district staff is recommending that CVHS athletics be allowed to continue during at-home learning. The main reason is these kids, as we learned at the board meeting, are going to compete anyway. Whether it's in a club or in school-based athletics, they are going to compete. My feeling is that they will be competing in a safer way under AIA rules than they would in other rules. And part of that is there were modifications that were made that I believe I shared with you, forwarded an email to you regarding the modifications that are going to be required in order for these athletes to compete. And so that is the recommendation that I have for you, is to allow winter athletics, and we're talking about boys and girls basketball, wrestling, which involves both boys and girls. And is Spirit Line part of that also, Marty?
Spirit, yeah, cheer will participate in, if we can, in basketball games.
Okay, so there'd be a cheer also. And then there are also limitations that the AIA put on the spectators. I believe it was limited to 2 per athlete, things like that. So those are the modifications that were put in place, along with the mask mandate that were put in place. And it sounded like they were going to be very strict with those, but that is going to be in a safer way than if they were just to compete in regular athletics or club athletics, sorry.
Yes,
Can I ask John a question?
absolutely, please.
John, I have the AIA's
Yes.
material, obviously we've all read. And I think it's more of a question to coaches. Is it practical to have the kids have to be wearing a mask during the entirety of the game and contest?
I think you're right. Maybe Marty can direct that and maybe ask some of the coaches that.
Well, I think Alan had his hand up. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Can we approach if we can, please? Thank you. Thank you both.
no, I don't think it is practical, but the kids are willing to do whatever they gotta do to wrestle. And we've been practicing with it the last couple of days, trying to get used to it. And it's tough duty, especially in wrestling, because we're trying to figure out a way to keep it on our head. And but we're gonna do whatever we gotta do, because that's how bad the kids want to have a season.
Well, it puts the burden on you, the coaches,
It does.
because you're gonna have to be the bad guys. I hate to say it.
Well, we have been. We've been doing this for quite a while. We've been pretty good about it. While we've been practicing.
So you've been practicing with the masks on now?
Up until now, just the coaches had to wear the masks. The kids had to wear masks to practice, but they didn't have to practice with them on. Now they got to practice with them on. They're out running right now with them on down the road. And I don't think that's practical. I think it's actually unhealthy. I think it's probably unsafe. But
Well, I'm not gonna comment on what I think about it.
I say it. But we've talked to the kids, and they want to wrestle with it. And we've been saying, hey, we deserve it should be our choice. And the AIA said, hey, it's your choice to not wrestle. You want to wear a mask too. And so we get it. We don't like it, but we're going to do it so we can have season.
And how about some of the other sports, basketball in particular, we get pretty close to each other.
Yeah, I don't mind speaking. Matt Dunn, girls basketball for the high school. Since this all started, we've been taking more protocols than any would have ever imagined. They have to get out of the car with a mask on. They approach the door before they step foot in, they get their temperature checked before they can do anything. At the point, we're limiting to 7 girls in the gym. Per square footage, that's better than any classroom standards, by far. 1 girl at a basket, and that's how we've been doing it for a couple weeks. Now we need to go forward because competitions are gonna be starting. We need to get at least 10 girls in there so we can practice. Or for the boys' sake, 10 boys. Again, can you still social distance? To a certain extent. We have been wearing our mask. Do we like it? No. But guess what? It's the concession that we have to make. And they're willing to do
So basically, all the coaching staff are saying, it's tough, but we will comply.
that. Absolutely.
Good.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Annie, anything?
I just would like to say that I really strongly suggest that we approve this to happen. I just feel like sports are such a big thing, and it's a reason why we keep a lot of kids in schools. And I think that we'll lose a lot of families if we don't approve this. And with the AIA reversing their decision, I just think it would be the right thing for us to do to make sure that we allow sports in our district.
I agree, and I think John said it best, whether we allow sports in our schools or not, we're still gonna compete somewhere.
Exactly, so I just hope everybody's on the same page and sees it for what it is, and, like I said, we've taken enough away from these kids. It means a lot to these kids to be able to play the sports that they need to.
All right, well, So this is an action item. Would anyone make a motion, please?
Can I just make 2 comments real quick?
Yes, please.
The first one is the requested action does mention CVHS athletics only. Not, because the middle school seasons have actually either been canceled or, well, have been canceled. It was boys basketball, that's been canceled already, and then wrestling was canceled back in the fall. So this would only, the request is that it only apply to CVHS athletics, and then we can revisit it at the next board meeting for middle school athletics and also the spring sports for CVHS. Kind of see how things are. And then also I know that there's many concerns amongst families. Why the heck are we letting athletics go forward when we don't have kids in school? And I think that, Matt had mentioned it. You can actually have smaller groups and these kids are cohorted. Which means that if something does happen, if there is somebody that's positive, we have a small group that we have to quarantine and a small group that's been exposed to potentially a positive case, and not the 100 kids at a high school that potentially a positive child or even a positive teacher, would expose a classroom and multiple classrooms, things like that. So it's safer because of the smaller groups and the cohorting that we're able to do with during these practices and games.
Thank you for the clarification. Any questions regarding that, Marty? Did you?
Can I say something?
Yes, please come forward.
Just kind of on what, let me just approach it. Just kind of piggybacking on what Mr. Schill said, the AIA has put in a lot more restrictions and modifications this winter season than they did in the fall. In the fall, we did have sports. We limited, we didn't have to, at the time, we were monitoring form as such, every school will have to exchange one of these with the rival school, and that just shows all the kids that participate, all the coaches that are there. This will help contact trace in case we do have any issues that arise. So this is one modification. There's also a return to play evaluation if a child does contract COVID. They will have to get this signed off by a medical professional. So these are some of the things that are new to this season. One last thing is, we did a really good job with fans last season, excuse me. We limited each child to 2 tickets per child or per athlete. This year, the AIA has put forth that it can only be parents or guardians. So that will limit it even further. It's not going to make a lot of people happy, but it's definitely going to limit who's going to be at the games. So we could really cut down on who's going to be in and out of our gym. It's just going to be at our gym, but right now is all of our sports. So there are some really good things that are put in place. I just wanted to kind of highlight that because it is quite different than what it was in the fall. And they said if officials say that they feel like people aren't adhering, they'll walk out right then and there, and we will lose officiating from the AIA, which in turn will cause us to cancel games. So we would have to make sure that we adhere to these modifications.
And Marty, so that I know some of the board members were here and some weren't in the fall. Why don't you just describe, even though that we can't allow spectators in the gym, that there's still another way for people to actually view the game.
Thank you. Didn't even talk about that. So we had we're called through the NFHS, the National Federation of High Schools. They gave us they gifted us 2 cameras, one at the football field, one in our gym. And with these cameras, we're able to live stream our games. So for people who can't attend or won't be able to, they can purchase I think it's a $10 a month or $70 for the year, and they can watch all their games, anything that takes place in the gym or on the football field. So there is another avenue for people who can't be actually in the game or in the gym at that time.
It's a shame that you have your kids, the parents have to pay to be able to watch the games. Is there any way that we could have this broadcast to our Facebook page?
Well, the parents already are not paying to get into the games. We haven't charged at all this year. We haven't charged admission fee at all this year. So we took a big hit on that, to say the least. So the price of one membership for this is $10. It could be shared amongst the whole family. That's the price of a game, to walk into a game anyway.
Who gets money?
NFHS for the first 3 years, and then after that, we get, I think it's 75% of that.
Okay, so at least we are getting some.
We're on a contract, so the first couple of years, it will be through NHS. NFHS gets that money. But nothing's free, right? They gave us a camera, so at least we have that option.
I took advantage of it, and it really is good.
And we did have a lot of, with football, I'll admit right now, we had a lot of issues with
There were a
football.
few.
But just did the test and this week, and it looks like we're all good to go for the gym. So I don't foresee that being an issue this year.
Marty, did you want to touch on with that program, it includes the road games? If
Oh,
those schools-
absolutely, thank you. Yeah, so not only do you get to watch whatever we broadcast here, but you can watch any game in the nation. So whatever team or whatever school has this program, you can just log in and go watch, if you want to go watch, anything, you can watch Page, you can go watch, Mesa High School, it doesn't matter. You can go watch something in New York if you want to. But as long as you have that subscription, it's good. Absolutely. It is a good it is a lot of bang for your buck for $10 a month.
Anything else? All right, again, action item, we have a motion for approval, please.
I'd like to make a motion that Chino Valley High School Winter Sports Program, all programs, conform in entirety to the AIA rules, regulations, statements, conclusions that have been made as of the 12th of January in their last board meeting.
All right, all in favor?
Well, let's just make sure, be allowed to resume in your motion? I think all you said was in accordance with the AIA requirements.
To conform to all of those
Yeah,
at
and
this
this
point
is
in
for the Chino
time.
Valley High School, CVUSD.
Conform, resume athletics and conform to all
I
of
get
those.
you.
No, thank you, yeah. Good addition.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Thank you, Anna. All right, next agenda item is the use of school facilities by clubs. This is a clarification from our last meeting, Mr. Schill.
This was discussed at the last board meeting, as Madam President said, and due to procedural concern, staff has brought it back for another vote. It's the exact same motion. I actually just took the motion that was in the minutes and put it right on here. Now, the only thing I spoke to Madam President earlier today to kind of clarify things. It was interesting. So this was voted on Monday. On Tuesday morning, there was a facility use request for a youth athletic club that was not high school aged. And I just wanted to make sure that that was a result, and that was allowed according to the motion, because all that was approved was youth athletic clubs. And I wanted to make sure that was the intent as well. And so I wanted to bring that up to your attention to make sure that that was okay.
Discussion?
I'm, John, you said the title was a youth athletic club, but the kids were not youth?
No, they were
not high school.
they were not high school aged youth,
Okay, they were younger or older?
younger.
Oh, okay.
Because I got guidance from you guys that you didn't want adults. So anyone over that was out of high school was not allowed to use our facilities. And there's town facilities that could be utilized for that. This was just younger than high school. That it was a baseball club that was younger than high school that wanted to use the facilities. And I just wanted to make sure that was the intent of the motion, that's all.
And the item did say youth clubs.
The motion that's on here that's requested
Exactly the same.
is exactly what was approved.
Any discussion on that?
Well, it seems like, to be consistent, we've just allowed high school athletics to continue. Shouldn't we say the same thing for the use of clubs?
Up for discussion.
concerns about that.
It seems to me we were willing to make a modification based on the old AIA decision. It seems to me that now that they have changed course, that this brings us back to the thinking prior to that AIA decision of, I guess, a week ago. At that point in time, I want to remind everybody, it was our policy, we were not allowing any facilities, outside facility requests based on the COVID environment. So it seems to me we need to reconsider that.
And do you have the intention to reconsider all club activity or just to the high school?
That would be to the prior policy, which is any and all facility requests, outside facility requests.
And pre our decision, or when everything was normal, whatever that was, it was so long ago. Pretty much anyone could request a facility, correct?
As long as they provided the insurance, and then there was a schedule of fees that they would have to pay. And sometimes those were waived if it was depending on the organization and if they could do an in-kind type of deal. But there's policy that allows pretty much anybody that wants to pay or utilize the facility, as long as they meet the insurance requirements, they were allowed.
So in my mind, having it say allow youth athletic clubs covers that. It does discourage the adult clubs, but again, there are other facilities for that.
So Cindy, you're saying that youth would apply anything up to and including high school age?
Yes, absolutely.
And I like the requirement that they have their own liability insurance,
Of course.
obviously, yeah,
That's critical.
yeah, because some don't.
Well, again, that has always been policy and has always been up to the administrative offices to administer that policy.
Sure.
What I'm concerned about is that we're going to get into the business of approving or disapproving all requests from here on in. And do we want to be making the decision of who does not and who does have access to our facilities?
Well, I think that our blanket approval of allowing the organizations is as far into the weeds as we would get, and then administrators would make those decisions.
So, well, then our motion would be to open up our facilities to anybody, to revert to the pre-COVID facility usage policy.
I think we still need to have the youth term defined, which would be in high school and under.
Let me intervene for a moment. I believe Mike is saying not just youth club sports, churches, musics, theaters, etc. Am I correct? And that's not our decision.
No.
Right, so we have to say that, or the motion that's being sort of discussed and suggested here is that we revert to the pre-COVID facility usage policy, which in essence opens it up to anybody at any time, or as long as the facilities are available, and of course, they have insurance policies. Is that really what we want to do?
May I refer back to you, Mr. Shull? What is your interpretation of this?
So the motion that was passed on Monday, the way that I would enforce that would be, it would be youth athletic clubs that had outside insurance would be allowed to use the facility. And it was not limited to just high school aged kids. It could be any age, basically any group that tended to serve kids high school or less. And And it says in the motion only for practices, so that means they could not have competitions or games and that was what the motion said. And I think Annie made the motion at the time. And just as a reminder, there is no control over number of people. I know the town, we were talking earlier, the town limits it to 50. Or any kind of safety protocols that go along with that. But the way that the motion is written, it would be any youth athletic clubs would be allowed, the way the motion was written.
And the only clarification, John, we need, as I understand it, would be up to high school age, youth athletic.
No, I think that's clear, in my mind.
Oh, okay.
The only reason this is coming back to you is a procedural reason. I just wanted to kind of bring up what happened on Tuesday after you guys. And if you want everything to be the same, and that's how I will interpret it, that's fine. You just need to make the same motion. If you want to clarify things, and in no way do I want to bring every facility use request to you, I would just go ahead and deny it. And if it didn't meet, two things, if it didn't meet what this says, or if we were outside of the pandemic and everything was back to normal.
And I'm comfortable with club sports right now, youth club sports, and keeping others out for right now. I think we need to have some control and some containment during the pandemic. Otherwise, we're back to just having anybody and everybody whenever they choose or whenever they're allowed. That's my opinion.
I agree 100%. My understanding is what we did, we allowed any youth athletic sports club. The only question is, and I don't think it's really an issue anymore, up to high school age, rent the facilities according to our administrative standards, period. Youth athletic clubs up to and through high school age.
Are you comfortable with that?
I think so. As long as we are in the understanding that sort of when this condition, COVID, sort of ends, and I don't know how that will ever be defined, that we have to revert back to the pre-COVID policy.
Of course, yeah, definitely to be readdressed at a later date.
That's going to be a delightful process. Undoing.
And you know, it was always kind of an administrative task on that, and it was my decision as the superintendent to deny that once we were in this situation.
As well as.
It just, the only reason it was brought to you was because of the whole athletic question. And so that's the only reason it was brought to you on Monday.
So
And
if AIA had made their minds up.
correct.
The day before.
Correct.
none of this would have been.
Correct, and so, you know, that's the only reason, and it's not my intent for you guys to get into the weeds of approving facility use requests. Because really, everyone has the same right to use it if they meet the requirements, no matter what they do, as long as it's legal.
All right, with that, we need a motion to approve item 5B.
I move to allow youth athletic clubs to use district facilities for practices with the requirement that the club has its own liability insurance.
All in favor?
You want to define youth though?
Youth defined as
Any youth up to and
up
through high
to and
school?
through high school.
I'm youthful, Penny.
Yeah, me too.
All right, motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye, Annie. Bye, Annie. Thank you, everyone.
Is that